In this week's On My Shelf, I'm talking about Rainbow Rowell's Unforgettable Characters, a fascinating environmental science book that won the Pulitzer Prize, a fantastic resource for parents, my struggle when it comes to celebrating another birthday, and a new science fiction series I'm brainstorming with my husband, featuring a monkey named Arby. It's been a while since I finished it, but during my last sabbatical week of 2015, I read Rainbow Rowell's Fangirl. Rainbow Rowell made it to my best books of 2015 in episode 13, and I've mentioned before that when I find an author I really love, I'll read everything they write. So I've been making my way through Rowell's books. Fangirl did not disappoint. Rowell has this way of making her young adult characters feel really believable and real, like they exist. This is the kind of character we want to create when we're a writer. And so I've not only been enjoying Rowell's books, but I've been studying them to see exactly how she does it. I suspect that she really enjoys creating her characters, and she's one of those authors who understands humanity and habits and the issues people have. Fangirl is about twin sisters, Kath and Wren, who go off to college and, for the first time, don't room together. It's kind of a crisis for Kath, who is not the more outgoing of the two. Kath gets lost in continuing the writing of her fan fiction, trying to convince herself that not seeing Wren every day doesn't bother her. Wren gets caught up in partying and drinking. During the story, they struggle with their relationship and their own identities. I loved all the issues brought up in this book, which seem to be a theme with Rowell and her books. Readers will walk with Kath and Wren through alcoholism, the forgiveness of their mother, who left when they were really young, the care of their dad, who hasn't been the same since their mother left, and Wren's identity crisis without her twin sister. Rowell also brings elements of romance into the story. Overall, it was a great read, though I don't know if she'll ever top Eleanor and Park. I've also been immersed in a nonfiction book that's probably going to make me look like a big nerd. The Sixth Extinction, An Unnatural History by Elizabeth Kolbert won the Pulitzer Prize last year for a work of nonfiction, and her book moves all the way through the different cycles of extinction. She takes her readers through the extinction of many species I'd never actually heard of, all to the underlying theme that we are living in one of the biggest eras for extinction the world has ever seen before. It was a fascinating read. I'm a sucker for some great nonfiction, and The Sixth Extinction was a great one to have on my shelf. Lately, I've been working through a book called Lost in School: Why Our Kids with Behavioral Challenges Are Falling Through the Cracks and How We Can Help Them, by Ross W. Greene. Greene is the author of The Explosive Child, which I read back when my oldest son was having some issues at school that needed to be resolved. Greene is a fantastic teacher. Lost in School is written for teachers, but I found it to be yet another resource to have in my parenting arsenal because, as parents, we're our child's best teachers. Greene takes readers through the steps to addressing problem behaviors and how to brainstorm with a child on solutions, which is a pretty revolutionary concept in the parenting and education world. It's a fantastic resource for both parents and teachers, and I highly recommend this book for those who are interested in figuring out why some kids have trouble with behavior. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that our youngest baby turned 1. What I didn't mention is that his birthday is the day before mine, which means I also turned another year older. I've always had a complicated relationship with birthdays and getting older, because I often use it as an evaluation of what I've actually done in my years. And I'm always thinking I probably could have done more on every front. But what I'm trying to remember this year is that a birthday doesn't have to be an opportunity for the world to tell me that I am not enough or I haven't done enough. It can be an opportunity to believe instead that I am enough, that I have done enough, that who I am and who I am becoming is a more wholehearted person. And those are the things you can't really see from the outside of me. I'm working on a better relationship with time, and it's not easy, but it's important. My husband and I have just begun brainstorming a series about a monkey in space that will be written for middle grade kids, and I thought it would be fun to share a little of my brainstorm practice over the next few weeks. I wasn't always a writer who spent so much time brainstorming, but what I've learned about brainstorming is that even if you're not brainstorming anything to do with plot, you should be brainstorming things like setting and characters and some of the major issues that will come up, mostly because brainstorming will make these parts of your story richer. This week, I'm going to start with characters, because every story hinges on characters. It doesn't matter what kind of story you tell around them, the most important part of a story is its characters. So I start every brainstorm with my characters. Obviously, as the story progresses, more characters might show up, but in the beginning, I choose my initial list of characters. Then I imagine who I might cast as the character if my book were a film. I write all the necessary details about that character down on my brainstorm sheet. Details like who their parents are, what their relationships are like, what they look like, what they typically wear, what sorts of inner and outer conflicts they might see in my story. These kinds of details help give readers insight into the character and make them come alive on the page. And then one important last step I do with every character is I write a paragraph of text in their voice. This is important because it helps establish a unique voice for every character so that they don't all sound the same. It helps with dialogue and with motivation and with endearing readers to each individual character. For more about me or my books, sign up for my email newsletter where I share an inside look at life and projects I'm working on and the current novel of the year. If you have any questions about writing or books, or how I managed to run a writing career with 6 little ones, leave them in the comments and I'll get to them in future episodes. For more on my shelf, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.